Hey Hoshar, how are you?
Hi Mario, how are you? I'm fine,
Good,
thank
good,
you.
thank you. I'm going to send out the invites now.
Good?
Let me know if my mic plays up, because I'm still waiting for the new headset to come in.
No, it's just fine.
Let me send out the invites. Would you say today is relatively quiet compared to other days?
Yes, but the overall dynamics has not changed. I mean, I haven't seen anything to indicate any de-escalation soon or any change, for example, from the Iranians. But the picture is a bit more clear. Everybody is now calculating a bit more. The Israelis obviously have reconsidered their approach. They now talk in phases rather than,
Hmm.
no water, nothing. We are going in, we are destroying everything. They have increased the number of aid trucks. The Iranians are also more calculating. Uh, Although there is supposed to be a meeting, I'm sure you saw it in the group between the Iranian foreign minister who's going to Turkey and then Qatar. We might see something new here. The UN Security Council is meeting now. I don't see anything new. The US is against the ceasefire. The Russians are supporting it. Um, but what was surprising to me was the fact that IDF freed a soldier that was a hostage, and most surprising was they revealed it because now some people in IDF might say this is the way to go, to more pressure to release the hostages, and Hamas might
What was
you
what
know
was the what was the
resort.
what was the thing they what were you saying? What did you just say? The IDF did what?
They managed to rescue one of the
Ah,
hostages,
okay, yes,
a
yes.
female soldier.
Yeah, tell us more about
So
this. How,
but
how,
I was
how
surprised
they announced it? Yeah.
yeah, because I mean,
Hoshea, but
now that
there are reports that she wasn't actually rescued, that she wasn't on the initial hostage list, and that she was found. Nobody knows. It's a bit of a mystery. Sorry.
yes, but my point is, even if they manage to rescue her, revealing it will change the calculation on Hamas's part, on some hardliners in the IDF, thinking this is the only way to go forward rather than negotiation, and then Hamas might reconsider its position vis-a-vis the hostages.
Yeah, so let me try to get some more information on this because I'm just keeping trying to keep up now. I'm not as prepared as I
Sure.
usually am, and let me get my team. Um, but yeah, so what do we know so far? I think you jumped in, Ahmed, to offer a bit more clarity there.
No, no. I just said that there are some who report that this military lady, IDF soldier, we think, wasn't actually on the initial hostage list, and people had screenshotted the initial hostage list, the Israeli official hostage list, and then that she was then added onto it today. I'm not, I can't verify one or
So
another,
could
but
that
that's
be,
what
you know how
I've
the,
seen.
but do you know how the reports earlier that we started hearing reports that a soldier was kidnapped by, not kidnapped, but taken into custody by Hamas. I'm saying not saying kidnapped because it's within combat. So they had one soldier, apparently a senior soldier, from when the incursion happened, the day of the invasion. And we mentioned it here. There's a conflict. There's multiple reports saying they have it, and then even Hamas put out a statement saying that you'd be surprised what we're going to announce, something along those lines. Does that ring a bell to
That
anyone?
could be her, you mean? This could be her, you mean?
Yeah,
Could have been soldier. Could be.
y-
Yeah.
I saw
well,
that news.
so,
Yeah,
yeah,
but the
but the
problem
news that
is, sorry.
no, so the when that report initially broke, everyone was claiming it was a man, a high ranking, I believe it was a colonel, in Israel. Look, they have not released the details of how this lady was rescued, right? The Hebrew media is being very careful about it because they're not going to reveal the method of which she was rescued, but no, she was not found. She was rescued. That's according to the Israeli press and Ynet and the IDF and so forth. So they're not going to release the details of how she was rescued or found, but it looks, from what I see, that she actually was rescued.
And what's the
The
Does
official.
that
She
have
was
The,
captured on the 7th. She was captured on the 7th. This wasn't
but does
after.
that have anything to do with the IDF editing their tweet, removing the IDF from the claim?
exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So again, I mean, with all due respect, Twitter is Twitter. I'm not really all that interested in the Twitter statements that are put out.
that's why not? That's a statement nonetheless. Where they make
Yeah,
it.
so I'm not. I don't know. Yeah, so well, no, I don't know about this tweet, right? If someone could send it to me, the answer is I don't know, and I don't really care, to be honest. I mean, look, there's so much information being put out there that's changing moment by moment. Look, when there's an official statement that comes out, from the mouth of an IDF spokesperson, will accept it. Just like on the other side, right? When if an official statement comes out from Hamas or something, then they can accept it. But there's just a lot of information going around that's not verified, so it's a fast moving thing.
Well, I saw it on BBC. They usually check it.
So the BBC made that statement as well,
And,
correct?
well, the Guardian.
The BBC,
Sorry,
BBC took
yeah, go ahead.
took the statement from Israeli officials.
Right, but the BBC and the Guardian also got corrected. Not only if we're going to talk about Twitter and community notes, because the official statement came out and said that she was rescued.
Okay, I'm going to have my team look into both sides. Samir, do you have any more clarity on that soldier that was potentially Samir
Yeah,
Ahmed?
well,
I mean, as you know, there is a battle of narrative between the two sides now, and unless we see videos, okay, then we don't have to take anything for granted. As of now, even in the Arabic media, when you read, they said she was with the Bedouin family since the 7th of October, and as of now, she came out. She was not rescued, and we have really to have some questions about the
So hold on. So
information coming
who
from
put out
the
that statement
IDF.
that she was with her family all this time? Who said that?
Sorry?
Did you say she's been with the family since October the 7th?
Yeah, this has been circulated in some of the tweets. It's unconfirmed as
What
well.
was her name? What was her name?
Sorry?
What was her name?
Yeah, what was her name?
I don't know her name. I just
I'm
read it
gonna.
in Arabic.
I'll
Yeah,
find
I'm
out.
gonna get my team to research it now and just do a summary on it, so we can understand both sides of the argument.
Ori Megid.
Ori.
Name of who? The soldier?
Yes.
Ori Megadish.
Megadish. Ori Megadish, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just reading it now.
Ori or wait, hold on. ORI? Yeah, so that's not that's not a Bedouin name. That's not an Arab name, right? Ori is a Hebrew name.
So I'm reading an IDF statement, joint IDF and ISA statement. Overnight, the soldier PVT, and sorry for my pronunciation, Ori Megadish, was released during IDF ground operations. PVT Megadish, private, was kidnapped by the Hamas terrorist organization October the 7th. The soldier was medically checked, is doing well, and has met with her family. The IDF and ISA will continue to do everything it takes in order to release the hostages. I don't know if that's something to do with language, but release is a bit different from liberated. I don't know.
No, I think it's pretty clear. Unless I'm missing something, it seems pretty clear that if she was kidnapped on October 7th, she's been released. You're saying it could have been a prisoner exchange, and they're making it seem like they rescued her. Is that what you said?
I don't know what released is. Yeah, what does released? Released, yeah.
Instead of rescued.
I think,
interesting.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, right. I mean, it is interesting. You have a point, right? But then she wasn't with a Bedouin family, right? I mean, I don't know where that came from, but that's not a Bedouin name, right? That last name is an Iraqi, probably Iraqi or potentially Persian Jewish last name. Ori is a Hebrew name, so I don't know. We don't need to get bogged down in the semantics until we.
Mario, the article was published on the Times of Israel. I'll send it to the group. It's
I think
full article.
they were saying that she stayed with the Bedouin family, but she's not from the Bedouin family. I think that's what they meant.
Okay.
You know, Haaretz is saying that she was rescued. What they say that the Israeli army rescued her, which means they rescued her from Gaza. But I don't see any indication on the ground that they've done this, because they're still on the northern part.
Well, they did. Remember, a couple of days ago, we talked about this in the space. Remember, I sent it to you, Mario. There were the reports that the IDF had gone looking for. They'd entered Gaza and were looking for bodies. And remember, the statement that came out in Hebrew from the IDF that they were looking in the tunnels and so forth, dealing with the tunnels. You have the screenshot there in Hebrew that we translated. So it's possible. We don't know.
I mean, without seeing footage, even if they got tunnels, the Israelis at this tough time, they want to show their the mainstream and public opinion they've really achieved something. And as of now, on this narrative, there is nothing to prove of what the IDF said. Literally, there is nothing. And as you know, it's a battle of narrative, so it's two accounts, and there is nothing to support this account, really.
No, I agree to a certain point. We did see that they released a hostage video of the 3 Israeli women in the tunnel in Gaza, full electricity. So that's good. There is some electricity in Gaza, and a hostage video you can't take You can't accept that, right? Because it's a hostage statement made under duress. So they're calling her to be returned home and calling for a prisoner exchange and ceasefire and everything. But again, they're hostages on camera. We don't know what's going on in the back. But there's light down there, and they look well kept, well showered. They're not in rags. So there is tunnel electricity in the tunnels. So that's good.
It kind of goes back to the argument of whether prisoner exchange. So someone mentioned earlier that could give them ammunition to continue with their current strategy of no negotiations or kind of this very strict in terms of negotiations, in terms of hostage release, and continue with their current strategy, considering that they managed to rescue one. But that's assuming they're rescued. Now, that kind of goes to the counter argument that there might be twisting the story because strategically it makes sense. She might have been part of a prisoner exchange. However,
No. So a prisoner exchange would have been announced, right?
they
That
wouldn't.
is by
Okay,
law
so they
in
wouldn't. They
Israel.
wouldn't. For military purposes, they would not keep the story under wraps for now, considering it's the middle of a war.
No.
Okay.
No. So in Israel, it's much like, so if in the United States, or if somebody is convicted of something, by law, that conviction is a public record, right? It's not under seal. The same goes in Israel. If there was a prisoner being released from an Israeli jail, by law, it would have to be disclosed if they had been released. Now, as for an upcoming release,
And the law,
I don't know. That
the
could
law
be
still
negotiated.
applies in the state of war.
Yeah, of course. The prime minister doesn't have unilateral power to say, I'm going to release this person or that person, right? It has to go through the courts. It has to go through the Knesset. It's not as simple as, I want this person released. The prime minister of Israel doesn't have clemency powers. It is the president of Israel, which is Herzog. Herzog would have said, as part of a greater deal, we're releasing this person. So it's an important caveat to
Yeah,
add.
so we do have something else that happened as well, and I'm not sure if we have anyone from Gaza yet. No, I've invited Muhammad, but Zev, you probably know the geography well. So Israeli forces have blocked key Gaza north to south road, raising speculation of an advance on Gaza City. An Israeli tank and armored vehicle reported having cut Salahuddin Road near Gaza City, with speculation of an advance on territory's largest city. A video circulating on social media shows an Israeli tank destroying a vehicle, resulting in casualties. Salahuddin Road was preferred evacuation route for Palestinians in northern Gaza Strip due to concerns about the alternative coastal road's proximity to the Israeli Navy. I'm not sure if you've seen that. Anyone can offer more clarity on that?
I've seen the video, right? I've seen the video, but that I don't actually think that that's an accurate description, right? So if you look very carefully, the tank shoots at the building. Seconds before the car approaches the tank location, you can see the tank turn back using a three-way
Yeah.
turn, right? So I view it as they shot a building.
Yeah,
not a
let
car.
me explain, give some context, because I know this area very
Oh,
well.
of course you do. Yeah, of course. I forgot you're on stage.
So,
Sorry, Sama. Go ahead.
this is exactly, when you go out of from Gaza to the southern parts, this is literally the end of Gaza City. So this is on the edge of Gaza City, leading to the southern parts of Gaza City. And this main street, Salahuddin, will take you from, it's almost 45 kilometers from Eretz crossing to Rafah crossing. And even that same street will lead you to Jerusalem. So those people who know, it's just very like a longer dual carriageway. So this area is where the Israelis used to have a checkpoint when they used to have settlements back in the days, called Netzarim. Used to be a checkpoint. We have to pass by and get it checked, get our IDs checked. In 2008, 2009 war, when they started their like invasion, they also sort of penetrated the defenses of Gaza from that area and made limited incursion, which is the same, in my view. I mean, it's the same policy. Israel is, whenever want to invade Gaza or do any incursions, they will use the same policy. They will come from the same spots. They will go from this spot and also another spot near El Bureij refugee camp, which we didn't approach today. But this is not far from, as I said, Gaza City, and it's there's no defenses over there. You're talking about empty fields from the eastern parts, and the tanks just easily got into there, and then they shot that car. They hit it with an artillery shell, and then quickly they turned back to their defenses onto the eastern parts towards the Israeli border. They did not station there, so they returned back immediately after maybe half an hour, as was reported in the local media.
Yeah, and just really
Yusuf, can I
quickly.
ask you?
Yeah, just
Yusuf,
1 second.
Yusuf,
1 minute. So somebody made the claim that the IDF in a newspaper had said that she was released. So you can look at the IDF official Twitter page, right? So she is home. Private Magdish was abducted by Hamas. She was rescued during ground operations. So That's an official statement. Whether or not people want to interpret it is different. That's the idea of official statement.
So I'm just having a look. I understand. So I've just pinned.
Can I just ask about?
Yeah, just on that road, just quickly.
Yeah.
I've pinned a video above for anyone that wants to see it. So there's just a camera person sees the car, and the car's leaving. I'm just watching it now. What happens there?
Yeah, this
Yeah,
car
hit
was
it.
coming
It's
from
hit.
the southern part into
gets
Gaza
hit.
City itself, towards Gaza City, and then one of the cars was hit by artillery shell. So the guy was filming it. He quickly returned back south.
Yeah, I'm just.
Well, he was saying when you watch it, he's saying in Arabic. What he's saying, the guys, they're not going to hit it, are they? They're not going to hit it. He needs to come back. And this guy then, just as he's turning around, gets hit by the tank. And the guy who's been filming it was screaming, he's been hit. And then he turns around, starts driving backwards, and like telling other cars coming down there, saying, "Get back, get back, get back."
But
So
that,
that's
but
exactly
sure,
what's
but
happening.
then
I think people
yeah,
need
and
to
then
know.
going back
in
about
Arabic.
Gaza, I appreciate that, and just going back to Gaza City, it's not surprising that Gaza City is going to be, they're going to enter Gaza City. It's not. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's just not too far off the border. It's not like on the coastline, and it's up north.
Mario, I've sent you a tweet by a post by Yunus Tirawi, who's put a map on and says that it's exactly the same as what happened in 2009 Cast Lead operation. That's what they did last time round.
In terms of what, blocking off that road to be able to enter Gaza City?
Going through that area. He's saying what we're witnessing today is a replication of the ground operational plan the Israeli military employed during Cast Lead in 2009. The Beit Hanun axis is the one that may take some time. There's been continuous bombing, and it showed kind of where they're coming in from and going towards Gaza City. But yeah, I've sent it to you.
Yeah, I do also want to.
I don't know what.
I do want to mention something else, Hashar, since you're here. There was a drone attack on a U.S. base. Again, the Iraqi group Mujahideen of the Islamic Resistance of Iraq issued a statement and announced that it targeted the location of the American forces in Al-Assad with 2 drones. So that just came in. We heard explosions 5 hours ago that we reported them, and now we have. We just have the confirmation. Also, we do have the Hadi Al-Amiri, the Secretary General of the Badr Organization in Iraq, and Hoshia, I would love you to give us a bit of information on who they are, because they stated that the time has come for the international coalition forces to withdraw from Iraq as their continued presence is no longer necessary or justified. Can you tell us more on how, is that just a common thing they constantly say, or does it signal anything? They're trying to take advantage of the situation and try to force the US out of Iraq, and then tell us more about who the Badr organization is.
Well, it's extremely important to understand who these political military people are, how they think, where they come from. So Hadi al-Amri actually fought in the Iranian army against the Iraqi army in the 1980s. He is as close as you could get to Iran. The Badr organization was the armed wing of the Shia political parties, especially the Supreme Council of the Islamic Party in Iraq. So he has been the head of that armed force, but they have also moved into politics. So I think they have between 20 to 30. I'll
for him
to
say, but for him to say the US should get out of Iraq, is that something he's always said, or is that a shift in his narrative? I'm just seeing whether Iran is everything I'm trying to use to see what Iran's intentions are. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, they've said it, and they've taken action on it. When Soleimani was assassinated, with Abu Mahdi Muhandis was the overall commander of all these Shia forces, coordinating with Soleimani. They passed, a resolution, decision in Parliament, asking the U.S. coalition forces to go. But politically, it is almost impossible. Iraq has a lot of problems. Many people don't know this. ISIS is still very active, especially in what we call the disputed territories. That's the territories between.
How about their
military?
Their military capabilities. Their
government.
military capabilities have just completely been annihilated. Correct?
Who's
ISIL.
No, they are very active. They still kidnap people. They set up roadblocks. They kill people. They are in sort of the mountain areas that the federal forces and the
This goes back, so
KRG
that
forces
goes,
are not
so that kind of
present.
goes back to the point that we were discussing earlier. That killing an ideology is very, very, very difficult. And ISIL, if you're talking about ISIL still being active, it's a red flag for the current strategy. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, last year they set up a road between two major towns here in Kurdistan region, killed a lot of people. They kidnap people all the time and free them for
Do they do anything
ransoms.
in? Do they do anything in Baghdad or nothing at all? They have zero presence. Do they have like little small cells there?
There was a huge explosion last year, a suicide bomber. They claimed it was them, but because militarily they cannot, face the Iraqi Kurdish, supported by international coalition forces. But the fact that the international coalition to defeat ISIS is still there, it tells you that they are still a threat, and that's what every major leader always repeats, that ISIS is still a threat. And to be honest, Al Qaeda in Iraq, ISIS, the majority of them were from the population, so they've went back, to the civilian life. If there is an opportunity, they could rejoin that armed forces.
Has
In Syria,
Muqtada
they are also
al-Sadr
very
weighed in?
active.
Sorry, Brian.
Has Muqtada al-Sadr weighed in on the call for the U.S. to pull out? Because he actually, surprisingly, realized that the U.S. was contributing to the anti-ISIS fight, and he surprised a lot of people by actually calling on coalition forces a few years ago to stay. And he, even though he's a Shiite militia leader who actually fought U.S. forces years ago, he has actually stood up against Iranian influence. He doesn't like the fact that he's a Shiite a Shiite Iraqi cleric, but he's not aligned with Iran the way the Badrists are. So I'm just wondering if he's weighed in on this at all.
Yeah, he issued a public statement asking the Iraqi government and parliament to close the U.S. embassy. But because he is not in government and parliament, he won the most seats. I discussed it a couple of days ago. But because he wanted to form a government that Iran saw as a threat, they basically forced him out of parliament. He resigned from parliament. He had like 73 seats, which was the most seats any party could win.
Talking about this, I don't want to go too deep into Iraqi politics, but there's just another missile attack, unconfirmed missile attack, and thank you again, Amir Daryush, who's always on stage, who said that, sent me the link. It's unconfirmed, but there's a missile attack on the Koniko base, which was attacked earlier. It wouldn't be too surprising. But the clashes, and let me link that to what's going on in Lebanon and Hezbollah. So we have Lebanon's caretaker prime minister urges peace. Says Lebanon is in a precarious position, demands an end to Israeli provocations, warns that conflict involving Lebanon would have far-reaching regional consequences. Again, he's just trying to deter that war from happening with Hezbollah. Lebanese General Intelligence Chief Abbas Ibrahim and senior Hamas delegation led by Ali Bracha, discuss Gaza developments, so they meet. Hamas and Lebanese officials meet again. U.S. official announces plans to evacuate non-essential embassy personnel in Lebanon. Okay, I want to understand that one a bit further. Can anyone offer more clarity? I remember in a previous space, well, I can't remember who it was, Alex or someone's like, when they evacuate personnel from an embassy, and just quickly, I see all the requests to come up on stage. We'll be bringing you up. I see Yusuf there, and I see Melkite, Amir, I see you as well. We'll try to bring you all up. When they request for an embassy to be evacuated, are we starting to get into the dangerous territory? Because that'll probably be one of the pieces of information on the news today that can't be the most worried. Can anyone offer more clarity on that?
Yeah, there's a threat level that was raised of an imminent attack. I think I mentioned it yesterday in the UAE and Kuwait. The ambassadors from Israel haven't returned, but the UAE response is to be they are hyper alert and vigilant now.
No, I'm talking about I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Lebanese embassy, the U.S. embassy in Lebanon, evacuating non-essential personnel.
Yeah, they've put out statements that people shouldn't travel there. So I think it is serious across the region. And people are taking it seriously on both sides, the governments and the US personnel.
So how does it compare when it's essential personnel versus non-essential personnel? So if it's non-essential personnel, is that still very concerning, or is it only when it's essential personnel? I'm just trying to understand again. I'm looking at the action, what's happening on the ground, rather than what the various politicians are saying, to try to make sense of it. I'll try to bring Alex up, see if he's available. But Zev, Kareem, Ahmed, does anyone know? I know Heidi and Virpas can't speak, so let me bring them up again. Heidi, I've sent you calls. I think both of them would know, but they seem to have glitched out. Veripass, are you there? Okay, it's not working. Veripass?
Hey, Mario. Can you
Hey
hear me?
man, so yeah, evacuating non-essential personnel.
Yeah.
What should I make?
So
What sense should we make of this?
so last week we talked about this, and we said that that is your barometer for how bad it's getting. When they say non-essential personnel, they want you to leave. They don't want to have to come and rescue you. They don't want to. They know the embassies, the Marines know exactly how many people they have to pull out in helicopters. If U.S. citizens are there with dual passports, they're going to have to take them too. So what they do is they do the first wave and say, "Get out. It's getting rough. We can't guarantee your safety. We want you to leave. It's in your best interest." What we talked about last week is if they start saying the embassy is closed, that's the escalation point that everybody will be looking for. So based on the facts from Sada last week, other comments from, or else from the number two at Hezbollah, those will raise it up. But right now, the embassies are still staffed with essential personnel, non-essential personnel, family members, other things like that are told to get out.
Okay, so when it's essential personnel still there, that big red line has not been crossed. So it's when they fully
Correct.
evacuate the embassies the big point of concern.
Correct, 100%.
Hadi, maybe we can link this to what's happening on the ground right now in Lebanon. The clashes seems to have been quieting down. Has there been anything mentioned from Hezbollah? I know Nasrallah hasn't mentioned anything, but Hezbollah, other representatives, or any meetings, any other indicators that you've seen?
So basically, there was nothing. We had clashes today, around 10 to 12 attacks along the borders from the eastern part and the western part and the middle part. Like, it was all around the borders. Significant attacks like usual. They used spying places, positions, and there was Merkava Israeli tanks. They targeted Lebanese villages as well. They had a house, but there's no one in it, so there's no casualties. So today was more escalatory than yesterday, but not to the extent where we're going to see something. But there was no official statements from Hezbollah except the ones claiming responsibility for what they did on the borders. That's it.
And there's also a statement by the Lebanese military confiscating a few more rocket launchers, but I know it's pretty insignificant considering they don't belong to Hezbollah. So for the audience,
they do that all the time.
yeah, exactly. The Lebanese military and Hezbollah have like an unofficial agreement where I don't think it's official unless I'm wrong, but there's an unofficial agreement between them where the military does not interfere in Hezbollah operations. But Hadi, in terms of the clashes on the border, how do they compare to the ones? You remember the day where you went on stage on Mario? I think this is the worst day since the war. I think it was like a few days ago. How do those clashes today compare to those?
I mean, they're not worse than the ones when we were actually very alert on what's going on. I think now they're still significant to what extent Hezbollah is doing. Both sides are still under the rules of engagement. They're still following them, although there's some getting outside the line, but it's never to the extent where you're going to see a lot of escalations. And I pretty much personally believe that it's going to stay like that until, like I said before, and I keep saying it because that's where I feel like this is it. They're going to see what's happening in Gaza, how Hamas is holding, and that's when they take their decisions. And actually, when Nasrallah said he's going to speak on Friday, and that decision is basically because there's a ceremony to honor the what do you call them, to honor the fallen soldiers of Hezbollah. So that's if he said I'm going to speak tomorrow with no ceremony, that's where we need to panic. But because he said there's already a ceremony, when people are invited to some hall.
No, but do you panic when he needs to make a speech, or do you panic when he's very quiet?
I panic both, actually. It depends. If he's quiet, I don't panic. I feel like there is something happening because he's quiet. But if he says he's going to make a speech out of the sudden the next day and there's no event for him to make a speech, that's when we usually get okay, there's something going on. But because now he announced a speech with an event, that's completely different. Because there's already an event, he has to speak.
Was there any indicators from other politicians in Lebanon? So remember last time we had a lot of de-escalation. We had one politician come up, can't remember who it is, and say that they're in talks with different parties to try to de-escalate the situation. And then we also had obviously a few meetings. We had the statements from Jumblat a while ago that says he'll support Hezbollah and Nasrallah. Anything at all that gives any indication?
We had one today from Jubran Basil. He's the leader of the biggest Christian party, Maronite party in Lebanon, the FMP, the Free Patriotic Movement, and they're allies of Hezbollah in the government. He tweeted that we need to consider Hezbollah martyrs as the martyrs of Lebanon. Something with that context. I can't translate literally in Arabic, but within this context,
which indicates what exactly?
Which indicates basically that the party is although I can't tell you the party wants war. No one wants war. I'm pretty sure no one wants actually encouraging a war. But if he's saying if a war happens, we're gonna regard the distant attack on Lebanon and Lebanon as well, because the same party actually stood with Hezbollah in 2006 as well during the war. So
And
that's not
Michel? What's Michel Aoun's position now?
Michel Aoun. Basically, Michel Aoun, this is his political party, the FPM. But now who took over?
So he was the president, wasn't he?
He was the president. Now, not anymore. Yeah.
Now there's no more president, correct? It's just
No, we're
a
just
vacuum.
waiting. Yeah.
Before going to Ahmed, I want to go to Kareem. Kareem, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Mario.
Good to have you. It's first time on stage. Would love your thoughts on what's been happening in Lebanon. Obviously, everything that Hadi mentioned, but first time on stage, so it'd be good to get your thoughts on the developments over the last week.
Well, I pretty much agree with what Hadi outlined. So far, the rules of engagement are relatively respected. We have seen skirmishes or more than skirmishes on the Lebanese-Israeli border, but it's mostly cities near the border that have been hit by rockets on the Lebanese side and on the Israeli side. So indeed, I do think that so far, no one has an interest in a wider confrontation. If we assume that actors are rational, neither Iran nor Israel nor Hezbollah have an interest in seeing an escalation at this stage. However, if the ground operation in Gaza leads to a bloodbath, and I think this is very likely to happen, if we see emotions running high in Israel and in the Arab world, and if Hamas is really jeopardized, then everything could change. There is a clear possibility that Iran could give a green light to its Lebanese allies to escalate and to launch wider attacks on Israel. And then everything could happen. The Israeli response could be devastating. I have already lived in my lifetime 6 or 7 Israeli attacks or Israeli invasions of Lebanon, and usually everything breaks loose, and we could witness a really this is basically the chronicle of a massacre foretold, because Lebanon is on the verge of state collapse, or I should rather say in the midst of a state collapse. All our institutions have already crumbled. The Lebanese economy is going through one of the biggest crises worldwide since 1850, according to the World Bank. The Lebanese have often been described as resilient, but today they are all exhausted. Most of them, a recent poll indicated that an overwhelming majority of the Lebanese do not want to see their country dragged down in a new confrontation with Israel, even though they do sympathize with Palestinian civilians who are being killed in Gaza. So at this stage, I think there is a temporary respite. Lebanon will not be engulfed in the immediate coming days or weeks, but as soon as things turn ugly in Gaza, if Hamas is really in difficulty, it is not to be excluded that the second front could be opened. And we should also keep in mind that Israel could also face a third front, because the situation in the West Bank is also increasingly tense. There is no Hamas in the West Bank, and yet hundreds of Palestinians have been killed in the past few months.
So I do want to go. I wouldn't say there's no Hamas, but very, very little Hamas, because they did arrest like a commander,
Yes.
a senior official in Hamas from Hamas yesterday in the West Bank. But Ahmed, maybe give us a bit more insight on what's going on in the West Bank recently, and I'd love to get Asaf and Brian's thoughts on it as well. Ahmed?
Hi, Mario. I honestly don't have enough information about what's happening in the West Bank at the moment. I think when Firas comes, can give you an update. But I just want to comment on the video that you have on the Jumbotron. So as Samih outlined earlier, the area from the eastern border of Gaza and directly that leads to where the tank is, as you can see in the video, is basically an agricultural piece of land. So it's just a flat earth landscape. And they've done that before in 2008, 2009. So this particular area was a settlement back in 2005 when the Israelis left Gaza. It was called Netzarim. and where the tank is at the moment was actually the road that the settlers used to use to get into Salahuddin Street. I remember this area pretty much. There was a checkpoint there named Abu Holi. So basically, the tank was only momentarily there, I think less than 30 minutes. And one of the journalists managed to get this footage. And as you can see in the video, the car, one of the civilian cars are just hitting there, and it saw the tank. And now it tries to go back, and they were shot. And then like the guy in the video was screaming and just saying to everyone, go back, go back. So is anyone going to condemn that? I just want to ask Ben.
Zev, I think this is for Zev.
Sorry,
Go ahead, Zev.
Sorry.
Zev, yeah.
Well, look, if an innocent person was shot and killed or shelled, yes, of course.
Thank you.
Prove to me that, yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to condemn something.
Proof? Do you need proof?
No, how about this? Just hold on. Okay, you know what? Listen, no. Excuse me. Yes, if it is an innocent person, I absolutely condemn it. I want to make that crystal clear, and I would like you to condemn something. Okay, so
Ben,
this is
Ben, Israeli commander.
Hold on, no.
Have you,
Excuse me.
Ahmed,
You can finish.
go Zev and then we'll go to Ahmed.
Okay. Yes, I condemn it. Absolutely, if that is an innocent person, a civilian killed, I absolutely condemn it. I would like you to condemn something, if you would. So this is from CNN. The journalists were showed footage taken from body cams of Hamas terrorists that were killed. These are not Israelis dressed up as, Hamas members. Okay? Condemn this, please. We can see, first of all, 2 Hamas militants enter a kibbutz. One shoots a tire of an ambulance parked at the front, ensuring that any survivors can be transported to safety. The militants next go to ambush on the houses, shooting people who are still in their beds or sitting in their back porches. They shoot dogs wandering around the kibbutz. If they struggle to get in a home, they set it on fire. Now, they show Hamas members arguing over who gets to attempt to decapitate a Thai laborer with a garden hoe, shouting Allahu Akbar.